saying that last. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 209. Stockton, motherfucker, Stockton. Shout out to Nick Diaz, Nate Diaz. Always flexing like this, but you're kinda skinny, but that's okay, cause you back it up every single day. 209, motherfucker, hey, hey. Welcome to episode 209 special. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're saying Evan must be sipping on his coffee or his water, nah, not today, ladies and gentlemen. Not tonight, I should say. Because this episode is sponsored by Corona. And I don't mean fucking coronavirus, ladies and gentlemen. Corona the drink. You remember back in the day? Corona Premier, send me a goddamn check. When Corona used to be a good thing, say, hey, let me grab a Corona. Now you're like, hey, don't ever give me Corona. It's not the best bit I ever did. Listen, it's not even a bit, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just here with you. Breathing. As I live and breathe, ladies and gentlemen, doing a late night podcast for you. Late night. Why? Because we missed one episode this week. Listen, your boy been at it. Working. Grinding. I don't even know what that shit is. But we've been doing it. It feels like it. Sometimes it just feels like it, ladies and gentlemen. And I thought, you know what? I can't not do an episode right now. You have to deliver. You got to do what you're most dedicated to. And I'm dedicated to you, baby. Every single fucking one of you. But I didn't even realize when I started this episode, it's episode 209. Stockton, motherfucker. If you don't know the Nate Diaz brothers, the Diaz brothers, Nick and Nate Diaz from Stockton, motherfucker, California. Might be the last of their generation of that kind of fighter. That kind of, just who they are. I don't know if we're going to get many more of them in the MMA world, okay? Complete characters. If you are outside of the MMA world and you don't know anything about this, Nate and Nick Diaz are two individuals who come from the hard part of Stockton, California, okay? Everybody thinks of California like you're fucking soft. Not everything in fucking California is soft and liberal, all right? Some shit is long and hard. What? Stupid. But what else do you expect from your boy? And Stockton is one of those places that just breeds hard people. There's a lot of places like that in California where if you're going to make it out, you're going to be something. It's going to be tough. There's hard parts everywhere. You grew up in a fucking soft place, you're going to be a little jellyfish. You grow up in a hard place, you're going to be a rock. All right? Baller metaphor for you right there, ladies and gentlemen. And Nate and Nick Diaz are two of my favorite fighters because they were the truest fighters in the sense of they loved to scrap. It was always more about the personal side of fighting. There's a lot of people who have this idea with MMA, which what it is, a sport now. But there's a lot of people who lean on that. They go away from the this is a fight aspect of it because it's probably best mentally if you accept that mindset of it, that this isn't necessarily a fight because fighting is scary. Fighting is stressful. Fighting is intense. Fighting is like this thing that you make you cringe in your stomach thinking about having to do it. You're there, especially on the level that these people fight at. You get in your fucking underwears and fighting a grown man in a cage. It's going to be a little stressful. That's what I always thought was crazy. always love when fighters, and I've talked about this before, thank God after a fight. Like, I like thank Jesus Christ for letting me do that. For letting me fucking knock this other grown man out in front of his fucking children over there. Because it happens. You know, you look out there and you see sometimes, and they're like, I like thank Jesus. And then you just see his opponent standing next to him just like, fuck. He's like making eye contact with his fucking little daughter. Terrible. Terrible. But the point I was making, that can get stressful. That kind of lifestyle is not something easy on the nerves. And even me with competing in jiu-jitsu is not as stressful or bad as boxing. Because jiu-jitsu, yeah, you can get choked out. You can get something snapped. It's just as effective, if not more effective than boxing in a street fight, depending where it goes. You have the grappling advantage in jiu-jitsu. You can kind of control where the fight goes once you get into a dominant position. But there's something different about knowing that you're about to get punched in the face. There's something more aggressive about it. And I remember even before, you know, when I grew up boxing, it was in a boxing gym that was it was called old school boxing because it had an old school mentality that sometimes there was a sink or swim moment where it was like, you're going to fucking get in there and scrap. And sometimes he would tell you the day before who you're going to fucking spar with. But it really wasn't sparring. It was like, you're going to have a fight with this man. Okay. And sometimes you wouldn't even sleep good that night. And you would just be thinking, this motherfucker's going to punch me in the face tomorrow. Have I been running? What if I get tired? Because that's the fucking scary side of fighting is after you get punched maybe once, twice in the face, you're like, oh yeah, I'm not going to fall apart. I'm good. And then you go into a next level of it. And it's like the anticipation, the buildup. But what's worse is getting tired. You get tired in there. It's like fucking gasoline for your opponent. They look at you and they're like, oh, this motherfucker's tired. They put the pressure on you. Okay? And that's where shit just snowballs. It's terrible. You about to get a grown man to his son ass whooping. All right? You're telling him to go outside and pick a switch. All right? That's what happens when you get a little too tired in the ring. Point I'm making. It can be a stressful situation, no matter what level, fighting someone else, even in a street fight. I think that's why people who don't know how to fight are always the one throwing punches first. And it's like everybody gets panic and the anticipation is too much. So it's like, let's fucking make it happen. I just want to like get through it. Because you're not sure. You just want to get it over with. But this is the longest way to say this. Nick and Nate Diaz, they don't approach the sport that way. It's a fight. They approach it first as that. Fuck this other guy. I'm going to try and embarrass you. We're going to have a fight. Blah, blah, blah. And for a lot of it, there's a lot of Nick and Nate Diaz quotes out there about this mentality that they have of just fighting. They grew up fighting, and you get in a cage, they could psychologically break people, which is nuts. You would see it happen. And you know how they would do it? With a fucking Stockton slap. A Stockton slap. You're like, Evan Lopez, the fuck is that? They will slap another grown man in the face. Instead of taking the opportunity to punch them, they would rather slap them because of the humility that it brings. And it's the same effect. You ever had someone punk you? Listen, everybody who has ever been involved in any situation at some point in their life has been punked. No one, dude, there's people who are like, 100 street fights, never lost one of them. I'm like, oh, were you fighting infants the whole time? Anybody can be 100-0 against infants. Sometimes I like to ponder, how many infants could I fight? Like, what's the number? What's the tipping point where infants could overtake me? And you know what my guess is? Infinity. Infinity. There will never be a time where any number of infants can take me. Okay? So if there's any infants watching, fucking bring it. Just kidding. I'm not trying to get involved. There's probably some fucking infants somewhere in fucking Thailand just fucking kicking down bamboo trees, just fuck, fuck, fuck. You know, I don't fuck with those bamboo kicking infants. Never again. But there has to be a number on toddlers. And infants isn't fair because you're like, they're infants, dude. They don't have any motor skills at all. They just fucking look at you and poop and drool. Okay? Come on. Anybody who bets on an infant against me, go fuck yourself. All right? That's just rude. You're doing it to disrespect me. But there has to be a number with toddlers. And this does take me out of the equation. I'm talking about human beings. How many toddlers would it take to beat up The Rock? That's a real question. And there's a real answer. Isn't that nuts? That if you create an environment, put them on a football field and say, this number of infants could kill The Rock. Is it 27? Doubt it. I doubt it. Is it 100? Nah. I still bet on The Rock. Because he can do fucking 100 bicep curls. He's just smash, 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 smash. Focus, smash, smash. 100 toddlers gone. He's taken out a whole Sunday school of toddlers, all right? Things get tricky around 1,000, all right? I think The Rock has his handful around 873. That's just the number that jumps out to me, okay? Listen, your boy sometimes believes in the horoscopes and numbers and geometry. 873 is the number that of toddlers that I think could beat up The Rock. They just have to learn how to work together, okay? That's all they need. Anyway, I don't know where the fuck we were going. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, episode 209, the Stockton special. What? Huh? I always think any interview with Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz is the greatest thing. If you haven't seen them, go watch like a Nate and Nick Diaz highlight. I didn't like seeing Nick Diaz fight Robbie Lawler in the last fight, if I'm being honest with you right now. Okay? I was rooting for Robbie Lawler. I always have loved Robbie Lawler. When he came back, Robbie Lawler has one of the greatest comebacks. I don't know why I was thinking of it. I don't know why that my head went comeback, coming on a back. Like, what the fuck is going on? All right. We're not going to do many Corona episodes unless the people want it. But when Robbie Lawler came back to the UFC, it was a thing of beauty. I rode him to the top. What? Huh? Who said that? But what I mean is that sometimes you latch on to a fighter, you're like, this is my guy. This is my guy. Okay? And I swore I'd never fall in love again. Ever since Anderson Silva got knocked out by Chris Weidman, it broke my heart. It broke mi corazón. Okay? Because I got too emotionally invested in a fighter. It was puppy love. All right? I loved Roy Jones Jr. growing up. All right? Y'all must have forgot. Move I stole from a gamecock. Y'all must have forgot. Roy Jones Jr. has one of the greatest songs of all time. Y'all must have forgot. Also, Can't Be Touched by Roy Jones Jr. Put that shit on your workout playlist. Thank me later. But I loved Roy Jones Jr. All right. He was like my first love, my kiddie love, my fighting crush. And then as I grew into a young lad, Anderson Silva came into the picture. Just this great technique, striker, everything. When I was boxing, I fancied myself as someone who loved being fast and unorthodox and technique. So he was the perfect candidate. He was like the Bruce Lee, you know? And when he was on top of the ring, it was beautiful. Arguably the greatest of all time. What he did in the 185-pound division going up to 205, phenomenal. It's hard to compare different eras, all right? If you were to ask me who's my MMA GOAT, you got to give it to John Jones just based on how many champions he beat. okay? But also a lot of problems outside the octagon, okay? It's an issue. It's an issue. You can't ignore it. Excuse me. But when Anderson Silva got knocked out by Chris Weidman, your boy emotionally wept. I grieved. I'll never forget this. I was watching the fight with my girlfriend and my parents. I was at my parents' house. And Anderson Silva is toying with Chris Weidman. And I'm like, Spidey, you can't keep doing this. And then what's happening? He starts showboating and doing his stuff. And he's like trying to play games. And it's probably part of the technique. And he's just trying to do his thing. Bam, gets clipped, gets knocked out. Your boy turns into a mini Hulk, grabs a chair, overhand throws it over my head, smashes into 1,000 pieces on the wall. Everybody was quiet because they were like, what is he going to do next? A full-blown rage. A full-blown rage. And I just remember my dad kind of hushly saying to my mom, make sure that over there is okay. I don't know what he was referring to. Maybe I hit something else. I literally was so upset by this. And it instantly, as soon as I did this, I went, what the fuck are you doing? And I laid in my bed that night. And my girlfriend, she consoled me. And I remember grieving and mourning the loss of this other grown man that I've never met in my life. I know nothing about. He doesn't even know I exist. I'm a goddamn believer over here, okay? With this Spidey fever. And I remember telling myself, God damn it, Evan, you cannot get this emotionally involved with another man like this ever again. Huh? Who said that? Broke my heart when he hit the mat. I can't get emotionally invested in another man again. Maybe I am gay, that's okay. For Anderson Silva. Who said that? Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize, okay? It's been a weird episode. I don't apologize for any of this, okay? I don't apologize for any of these. Over 200 episodes. Some of them are going to be experimental. I'm an artist, okay? At the end of the day. Don't question the process. Good soup, okay? But after that, with Anderson Silva, I literally said, I can't do this again. I can't do this again. This is ridiculous. I've got to get back to real life. It was that moment where I took the crack pipe and I broke it in half. And I said, I can't keep doing this anymore. And I turned my life around. And then someone snuck in. Robbie Lawler, okay? Robbie Lawler snuck in and I fucked up. I rode him all the way to the top. Huh? Who said that? And when he got knocked out by Tyron Woodley, it hurt, but I also was okay. All right? It's because that's what's crazy about MMA. Because, I don't know, it's because the stakes, I think, are so much different. You know, your favorite sports team, athlete loses a game, and maybe it's because I don't have any reference because I don't watch it. But it's like that person isn't losing brain cells. Their career trajectory isn't completely fallen off because they've lost this game. I don't know the financial situation of a lot of these NBA players, but I assume that's pretty fucking good. Especially these high-level athletes. They're making insane money. These fighters necessarily aren't making that much money. So sometimes when you see them lose, you feel bad for them because you know what it would have meant for their life. And I think that's what makes it also beautiful is when you're watching it and you hear these people get so excited because their life is being changed. Like, I think that's the magic is of it. When you're watching like NBA players play and you're like, oh, they're making 40 million this season and they're just playing a game. The stakes aren't as high. It's the worst happen. Oh, you tear an ACL. I've seen so many highlight videos of just NBA players like just flopping for fouls. But it's like these MMA fighters and boxers. It's a grind. It's a grind. And sometimes the juice isn't always worth the squeeze, my friend. The juice isn't always worth the squeeze, my friend. Okay? So I think that's why I have so much respect for it, is because it's like, it's a hell of a way to make a living. Sometimes you see people, where their career goes and like where like, oh man, you zigged when you should have zagged, and now your trajectory is this way. And it's just sad, and it's real. Older fighters, the injuries, the trauma with the head, it's like, it's a rough sport. It's a rough sport. I don't know why we spent this entire episode talking about it. I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't even know we were going to talk about this when we started this episode. I just said 209 and I realized, oh, that's Nick and Nate Diaz. So I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. We'll switch gears. Yeah. Stupid. So fucking stupid. I want to make a prediction, a silly prediction of where we are in 10 years as a society. You ever have those feelings? Not feelings, but you ever have times in your life where it's a struggle? Hey, I'm living it, friend. It's a struggle. Something big happens. You get pushed out of the nest. Just using that as a metaphor. You get pushed out of the nest. The world is a scary place. And all of a sudden you got to do it's rough. There's a lot of growth and change that happens in those periods of a lot of anxiety. I think right now, our society and our world is going through quite a big pushed out of the nest moment. I think that people's self-accountability, responsibility, it's probably the same thing. Independence, realizing how things are set up, how fragile, things like the supply chain. It's such a crazy thing, because I even dealt with someone today who was telling me something about, this is this because of, the supply chain. So it's like, sorry, like everything's scarce. And it's like, what's going to happen in 5 years? Like the supply chain is going to catch up? Or is it going to get worse with COVID if we don't figure something out? Because that's like real stuff. I've thought about that there was so much lag time with things that were needed during the pandemic and things artificially being propped up, whether it was interest rates or loans or the economy, all propped up artificially. But the chickens are going to come in the roost. And I think in 5 years, it's going to be a very interesting thing, the way things have to pivot. And I think in 10 years, our situation in America is vastly different. I think privacy laws are going to change. I think here's going to be my 10 years prediction. I think Bitcoin is going to get more controlled by the government. I think cryptocurrencies are going to get completely regulated. I don't think it's going to be the safe haven for being decentralized. I think privacy is going to become an issue. But I think slowly but surely, government overreach is going to have to slow down. I think government you would hope that that's the case. You would hope that we don't go further into this crazy world that we've started to slide. That's always what is crazy to me when people start talking about all this stuff that's happened in the past 2 years. Where it's like, where we are now with vaccine mandates and what is considered normal. 2 years ago, people have been like, wait, what the fuck? But it's like that metaphor about when you're cooking lobster or crabs, you don't put them in the hot water. You just slowly boil them. You put them in cold water and then you just turn the flame on and slowly let it heat up and they don't even realize it. And then they just die. And I'm not someone who's big on conspiracy theories. I don't know if it's this big evil thing that everybody likes to pretend like there's some secret state, thing going on. I think it's not as complicated as that. I think people like control and power, and people are opportunistic. And I think that is what is happening. And I think a lot of people who have never felt empowered before in their life feel empowered and almost like hall monitors with the way they want to police other people's lives. And they finally have an excuse to do it. When people want to try to control your personal well-being and all this stuff, even when they're like, what are you doing with your, focus on yourself. Like when I'm being told I better fucking be vaccinated by like chain smokers and people who do the most ridiculous shit. And I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. But it's like people have become hall monitors and virtue signal teachers' assistants. That's what it feels like, On a different note, in 10 years, I'm wondering how great the metaverse gets. Not in the sense of the metaverse. I actually don't really like that Facebook is the one that is kind of becoming the name brand for, virtual reality. I almost wish it was something else, someone else than fucking Mark Zuckerberg. You fucking robot, you weirdo. Dude, that guy looks like someone killed him in like 1970 and he's on borrowed time or something. He just looks like he's wearing a meat suit. He almost looks like a seal that doesn't realize, like he's hoping no one realizes that it's secretly just a seal in a human body. The way he just kind of stares. And then he does fucking human activities. He's like, I today am doing archery. I am a 40-year-old man, so I smoke meat. Me. That's how fucking Mark Zuckerberg lives his life. I partake in hobbies. Pictures, surfing. Surfing I do regularly. It's fucking Mark Zuckerberg. Thank you. It's the only impression you're going to hear me do. But I love to see where virtual reality is going. I remember putting on virtual reality like 4 or 5 years ago. And I remember putting it on and it was dope. I remember I did this like African safari and I walked around and I remember looking at the elephants. I was like, this is pretty cool. And it wasn't like a state-of-the-art equipment or anything. And in my head, I put a note because it was still when everything was expensive. It's still pretty expensive. But I put a note and I was like, I'm going to pick this stuff back up in 5 to 10 years. I got pretty close recently to dabbling back into it. But I'm like, in another 5 years, this is going to be great. And I think that in 10 years from now, virtual reality could be such an amazing thing. It's going to be so interactive. I feel like the technology is going to be amazing. And I'm here for it. There's just so many great places you could go with it. Like imagine actually being able to put people through workouts and do certain things and resistance training through like these virtual reality suits that you can put on and you get to experience the sensations. You put on this full body suit and it actually like you could grapple with someone. Like imagine that where you're here and you're just in the suit and you're basically wearing what looks like almost a wetsuit. And you're able just to, sorry, I just got an email coming through. That was business. Hey, where was I? Oh yeah. So you're able to grapple and you could feel the sensation. So if someone grabs you, boom, you're able to twist and you can feel it. They push you, you feel it like jolt you back. 10 years, I think it's going to be pretty fascinating. I don't know if we'll be at that point, but if we survive as a species for another 50 years, it's going to be insane because I think technology has hit a point where it's almost like the ball rolling down the hill. It's just picking up speed. It's just like, it's just getting faster and faster. I think in 50 years, it's going to be completely nuts. one thing that's great and I'm optimistic about is life is getting better for old people, because you love to see it, because one day I'm going to be old, going to be real old, okay? I'm going to still want to do shit, though. I'm going to try to be a spry old man, all right? I'm going to be trying to be out there fishing and fucking, Who said that? And just living my life. But here's the great part is I feel like virtual reality is going to be amazing. You're going to be able to chill and just go fucking fight dinosaurs and shit from the safety of your recliner. Like I'm going to be able to jump in there and I'm going to be a jacked fucking 27-year-old and I'm just going to be like running around with an AK. My 4-4 make sure all your kids don't grow. What? Because think about that. Even 30 years ago, 40 years ago, old people would just sit and stare at walls and shit. That's why old people would always be like, I have my memories, because that's all they had. They're like, I like to sit and read a book or knit, because that's all there was. They didn't have options. Who wouldn't pick to fight dinosaurs in virtual reality? Sign me the fuck up. Eating applesauce off of assholes and shit. I don't know. I just think it'll be great, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just trying to be optimistic about the future because we don't know what the fuck is going to happen. I don't know if anybody thought that COVID was going to be around this long. Austin is literally going back into like level 5 lockdown security or whatever that is. I mean, they're not really locking down. There's a lot of people wearing masks. Some people never took them off. But now Austin is going to like level 5 where it's like you have to be wearing a mask in certain places and all of this. That's why your boy lives outside of Austin. All right. But it's just crazy that it seems like it's even ramping up even more. But ladies and gentlemen, I want you guys to know I love you guys. I apologize for one episode this week, but your boy's been busy. Maybe we'll talk about it eventually, but just a lot going on. I love you guys very much. Listen, I've said it before, but the podcast is growing. Subscribers are growing, and it fascinates me. It blows me away. And I'm thankful for every single fucking person that listens to this episode. Your boy almost got misty-eyed right now. I've been sipping Coronas. But I really am so appreciative, every single person who listens to this podcast, because as I start, it starts having more views and more downloads, I start realizing, oh shit, this might actually be able to become an income. It might actually become something that I can eventually do full time. And that would just make my fucking willy tingle till the end of time, So I hope that you guys have found some enjoyment out of this. You enjoyed this episode. And thank you. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. I'll be putting shorts up. I'll be putting videos up. I don't give a fuck. I put it all up, baby. Put my balls on the internet one of these days. Why not? All right? But I want you to know, remember, no matter what, I still love you.